Good day, Mashtako here. Welcome to 2026. May it be the best year you've had in your life. Today I would like us to talk about the power within us to forgive without receiving an apology. If we are going to make 2026 our best year yet, we've got to forgive without receiving an apology. Maybe you already have a list of people that you need to forgive, even though they have not yet apologized. Or you will encounter people in 2026 who will hurt you, who will disappoint you. You need to forgive without receiving an apology. When you forgive a person, you're not saying what they did or what they said is right, but you are actually freeing yourself to be able to concentrate on the important things in life instead of being held back by this thing that the person did or said. So it is very, very important that we forgive even if we never receive an apology. And I want to highlight today 3 things about forgiveness. Before I do so though, I would like you to subscribe to the channel if you are not yet a subscriber. If you are, thank you so very, very much. Please share this with somebody who needs to be reminded that they have the power within them to forgive, even without receiving an apology. Okay, let's get to it. The very first thing I want us to remember with regards to forgiveness is that when you forgive, you are actually protecting yourself from becoming a person that you do not want to be. You are protecting yourself from becoming a person that you do not want to be. Sometimes you will hear people who've been hurt or disappointed say some generalizations, some negative generalizations, like men are whatever, women are. And that is not true for all women. It's just that they had an encounter with one or few men or women who did those things. And then they've come to the conclusion that all women or all men are like that. You know, if you don't forgive, you then become that person who will have those generalizations, who will block all other people because of one or two or few experiences that were unfortunate. Earlier on in my life as a Christian, I was serving at a church in the youth, and the youth had a fundraising. And as a leader, I counted the money, and then I took the money and handed over to a senior leadership member. And that was it. Shortly after that, I left the church, I got married. Shortly after that, I started hearing rumors that I stole the money. You know, I used the money to buy a car. Other people were saying I used the money to fund the wedding. I was so hurt. Fortunately, there was a leader within the former church who did a follow-up on what happened to the money. And I told him the story to say, no, after counting it, I then handed over the money. It was not believable. There were meetings to discuss these things. I was not part of the meeting. And after about a year, the leader who was following up came back to me to say, no, he admitted that you had given him the money. And he just said he had forgotten. After a whole year, I was so mad. I was mad, I was upset, but God taught me to forgive. Because he said, if you don't forgive, then you're gonna think all churches are like that. You're not gonna want to serve, you're not gonna want to participate because you'll be scared that it will be misinterpreted, something will happen. But also you will not want to be a leader, you know. And I had to sit down and release that person and release how the church handled it, because I felt they could have handled it better. And when I did that, I could freely then serve in all the other churches I've been in, because I know that we are all human. You know, the Bible in Matthew 6, the Lord's Prayer has got that part that says, "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us." And that is why it is important that we forgive. We forgive not because we're saying the person was right. We forgive because we understand that we are not perfect. But most importantly, we forgive so that we do not end up becoming somebody that we ourselves don't even know. The second thing about forgiveness I want us to know is that forgiving a person does not necessarily mean you have to reconcile with that person. Forgiving a person does not necessarily mean you have to reconcile with that person. In Matthew chapter 18, the Bible talks about the steps one needs to follow in terms of resolving a conflict, like talking to the person one-on-one. If that doesn't work, getting in a witness to try and resolve the matter. And if that doesn't work, bringing in some senior people, some with wisdom, who've done life around, to try and resolve. If still nothing happens, the Bible then says you are to treat that person as you would a stranger. So this person would not have the same access to your life as they had before, because they do not see that they have done something wrong. However, because you would have forgiven them, if they need help, and it's help that you generally would give to even a stranger, then you are to help that person. So after that incident I just shared at the church, as I said, I got married. The marriage didn't work out. I was so hurt, I was so disappointed, dreams shattered. But most importantly for me, what was more hurting were the lies around the whole situation and the whole divorce coming up. I was so angry, so bitter. I did not understand how this love that was booming and got us into a marriage all of a sudden fall apart, and there were so many lies. I was so angry. I was so angry at my ex-husband. And I remember one day I was sitting at McDonald's because this thing was so consuming me. Work was starting to suffer. I did not want to go out of the house. I was just becoming a person I also did not know. And the Lord asked me a question as I sat there. Such a tender question, because he was concerned for me. He said, "What is it that you think I as God can do to this guy that you think will make everything go away?" That was such a difficult question for me, because I thought, and I sat there and I thought that there is actually nothing. Even if I were to say, "God, I want him dead," it would not change the fact that we got a divorce. It would not change the lies that were going around. It would not change at all. And from that moment, I made a decision that I would not try to defend myself. I would stop also trying to hit back by saying negative things about him. And I started asking God to heal my heart. The marriage fell apart. It was what it was. And life continued. There was no reconciliation and life was good. So when you forgive, it does not necessarily mean you have to reconcile. But you are releasing yourself from this thing poisoning you, from this thing taking away your energy and your concentration on the important things in your life. And you also allowing God to deal with it the best way he knows how. Number 3, and I know number 3 might sound like a contradiction, but it is not. Number 3, Forgiveness opens a door for reconciliation where needed. Forgiveness opens the door for reconciliation where needed. So I got married after I got divorced. So I had an ex-husband and I have a late husband. Quite a conundrum, hey? Anyways, so I got married, life was good, but my husband and I separated for some time. And after a while, then we started to move towards reconciliation. And that reconciliation would not have happened if he had not forgiven me for the things I've done, I've said. It would not have happened if I had not forgiven him for the things that he had done and he had said that I did not agree with. As a person you grow, as a person you evolve, and so do other people. When a person has genuinely changed their ways, when a person has seen that they are wrong, then you need to forgive. You know, in my journey, the Lord gave me two things that make relationships fall apart. The Lord gave me two things that make relationships fall apart. One, it's because the person who needs to change is not willing to change. So the person who has a behavior that is hurting the relationship is either not willing to change the behavior. So the relationship will fall apart. The second one, the person may be willing to change. However, the person on the other side is not willing to give the required time for the change to happen. Sometimes behavioral change is not instant. In fact, most of the time, it is not instant. So the person genuinely recognizes that it's wrong and it's gonna take some time for them to change. So you being in that relationship, you need then to be able to allow time for the behavior to change. And that's where reconciliation then is a beautiful thing. So in 2026, do not miss out on great relationships because of unforgiveness. You have the power within you to forgive without receiving an apology. The Lord Jesus Christ himself did it when he was on the cross. Even Stephen post the crucifixion, when they were busy throwing stones at him, he said, Lord, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. He didn't receive an apology. You have the same power within you to forgive without receiving an apology. A blessed 2026. I will see you in the next session. Love you very much.